Have you ever imagined a production motorcycle so fast it made an entire industry pause, worry, and agree to hold itself back? This isn't science fiction. It's the true story of the Suzuki Hayabusa, a legendary machine that sent shockwaves through the motorcycle world. In this video, we'll uncover the shocking truth behind the supersonic Falcon that didn't just break speed records but forced every rival to rethink what was possible. Far more than just fast, the Hayabusa became a bold declaration of engineering freedom and raw passion at a time when rules were meant to be broken. Join us as we dive deep into why this bike wasn't simply about hitting 200 miles per hour. It was about changing the game forever and leaving a legacy that still inspires riders to this day. In the late 1990s, the motorcycle industry wasn't just building machines, it was waging a full-blown speed war. Japanese manufacturers were locked in a relentless battle for the title of the world's fastest production bike, each brand desperate to claim the crown and the bragging rights that came with it. Kawasaki was the first to fire a truly shocking shot with the Ninja ZX-11, blasting past 170 miles per hour and setting a new benchmark for what a showroom motorcycle could do. It wasn't just a bike, it was a statement that they were willing to push engineering to its edge. Honda wasn't about to watch from the sidelines. They struck back with the CBR 1100XX Super Blackbird, named with no subtlety at all, built for one mission: to rule the open road as the absolute fastest production motorcycle on Earth. For a moment, they succeeded, but Suzuki didn't see this as a race they wanted to join. They saw prey to hunt, and they weren't shy about it. The name Hayabusa wasn't chosen by accident. In Japanese, it means peregrine falcon, the fastest bird in the world, renowned for hunting and killing blackbirds in mid-flight. Suzuki's engineers weren't just chasing records, they were issuing a personal challenge to Honda, making it clear they planned not only to beat the Blackbird, but to obliterate it. This wasn't just competition, it was a declaration of war written in metal and gasoline. Suzuki's team set out to build a motorcycle that wouldn't just edge past its rivals on the speedometer, but would force them to rethink what was even possible. It was a time when limits weren't respected. They were meant to be broken. And in the heart of that battle, the Hayabusa was born as the ultimate weapon. When Suzuki finally revealed the Hayabusa, the world didn't gasp because it was beautiful. They gasped because it looked like nothing anyone had ever seen on a public road. It was bulbous, rounded, almost alien in its presence, deliberately provocative. Critics said it was ugly. Fans called it radical. But Suzuki didn't care about pretty lines to sell in a showroom. They cared about one thing: conquering the wind at nearly 200 miles per hour. The entire shape was the result of relentless wind tunnel testing. Every curve, every vent, every bulge was engineered with a single mission: reduce drag and keep the bike stable at speeds most riders would never dare attempt. At nearly 200 miles per hour, wind isn't just a breeze pushing you back, it's a force trying to peel you off the bike and rip it apart. Suzuki's designers understood this brutal reality and embraced it fully. They drew inspiration from Japan's famed bullet trains with their long, tapered noses and seamless surfaces designed to slice through air without turbulence. That same philosophy guided the Hayabusa's shape. It wasn't designed to win beauty pageants. It was designed to serve speed itself. Lead designer Koji Yoshirua put it plainly: the Hayabusa was built to provoke extreme reactions. Love it or hate it, but no one should ignore it. And no one did. Riders couldn't stop talking about it, even if they disagreed, on whether it looked like a predator or something from a science fiction movie. But beneath the controversy was brilliant engineering. At those extreme speeds, minor design flaws could mean catastrophic instability. Suzuki didn't just want fast, they wanted controlled, repeatable, terrifying speed. This wasn't just styling, it was a declaration. This machine existed for one uncompromising purpose: to tame the wind and push the very idea of a production motorcycle further than anyone else had ever dared. But Suzuki didn't stop at radical aerodynamics. To truly dominate, they needed an engine that broke every rule the industry held sacred. While other manufacturers were refining their 1000cc sport bike engines for razor-sharp high RPM power, Suzuki went in the opposite direction. They built a 1,340 cubic centimeter inline-4 that was bigger, heavier, and unashamedly muscular. It delivered 175 horsepower and 103 pound-feet of torque, astonishing numbers for its time. But raw numbers don't tell the whole story. What made the Hayabusa so menacing was how it delivered that power. Unlike race engines that screamed at sky-high RPMs and demanded constant shifting, the Hayabusa's torque came on smooth and strong at nearly any speed. Whether you were rolling through city traffic or hammering down a deserted highway, a twist of the throttle unleashed an immediate, relentless surge. Suzuki understood that real-world riding wasn't just about peak power, it was about usable power. That philosophy drove them to over-engineer nearly every component. The engine block was built for durability. The gearbox was reinforced to handle massive torque. They added a gear-driven counterbalancer to reduce vibration, making it remarkably civilized for such a beast. Even the chassis was no afterthought. Borrowing DNA from the GSX R750, Suzuki reimagined the frame geometry and swing arm to control all that power. Despite its 550-pound weight, riders described it as surprisingly balanced and stable once in motion, like it shrank beneath you the faster you went. This wasn't a machine that made polite requests of the road. It issued commands. It was designed to intimidate rivals while giving its rider supreme confidence. The Hayabusa wasn't about following trends or meeting expectations. It existed to smash them, to prove that the boundaries everyone else accepted were simply there to be rewritten. When the Hayabusa launched in 1999, it wasn't just another motorcycle release. It was a seismic event that rattled the entire industry. Straight from the factory floor, it was capable of nearly 200 miles per hour. That wasn't marketing hype. That was fact. Suddenly, anyone with enough cash and courage could buy a machine with the speed of a small aircraft. It wasn't just rival manufacturers who noticed. Politicians, insurance companies, and the media sounded the alarm. Headlines screamed about two-wheeled rockets and asked if teenagers should really have access to such raw power. Safety advocates warned of catastrophic crashes. Insurance rates for sport bikes began to climb. Behind closed doors, regulators whispered about potential bans. The threat was real. The entire sport bike market faced the possibility of crushing government restrictions. The manufacturers understood that if they didn't act, lawmakers would. So they did something unheard of. They met in private, without press conferences or fanfare, and forged an unspoken truce. It became known as the Gentleman's Agreement. No contracts, no signatures, just a handshake between giants. From then on, all production motorcycles would be electronically limited to 186 miles per hour. Not because they couldn't go faster, but because they chose to stop. This wasn't about engineering limits, it was about survival. The Hayabusa had pushed the envelope so far, so fast, that it forced the entire industry to slam on the brakes. It closed the chapter on an era of unrestrained competition, a time when engineers were free to chase speed with no apologies. And in that sense, the Hayabusa wasn't just the fastest motorcycle of its time, it was the bike that ended the speed war. A machine so powerful, it made an entire industry choose caution over freedom, marking the end of an age that may never return. Even though the Hayabusa was never officially banned, it quickly earned that reputation in the public mind. After all, it was the motorcycle that forced an entire industry to limit itself. From that moment on, every new Hayabusa and every other sport bike came from the factory with an electronic speed limiter capped at 186 miles per hour. There was no government order, no worldwide recall, just quiet compliance. Suzuki didn't issue press releases or fight the decision in public. Instead, they simply adapted. Future generations of the Hayabusa included not just speed limiters, but subtle engine mapping changes designed to appear tamer, more responsible. It was a marketing necessity as much as a safety measure, a way to reassure wary lawmakers, insurance companies, and parents who read the headlines. But here's the truth. Even with those restraints, the Hayabusa remained in a class of its own, because it wasn't just about top speed. Underneath the limiter, the bike still had the same overbuilt 1,340 cubic centimeter engine, the same rock-solid chassis, and the same legendary reliability. Riders discovered it wasn't a one-trick pony. It was shockingly comfortable on long rides, with a wide seat and practical ergonomics that made highway miles fly by. The throttle response was smooth and predictable even in city traffic, despite its brutal potential. And thanks to its balanced weight and tuned suspension, it stayed planted whether you were carving back roads or commuting to work. Beyond that, the Hayabusa became a platform for endless customization. Turbo kits, extended swing arms, wild paint jobs, it could handle it all. Owners didn't just ride them, they kept them, upgraded them, and made them their own. For many, it wasn't just a bike, it was the bike for life. A dependable, endlessly rewarding machine that lets you write your own story on two wheels, long after the speed wars had faded into history. But the Hayabusa was never just transportation. It became a blank canvas for riders who refused to be ordinary. Around the world, it sparked a movement of creativity and personal expression that few motorcycles have ever matched. Owners didn't just buy a Hayabusa to leave it stock. They built their dreams onto it. Turbochargers that pushed output to 250, even 300 horsepower. Extended swing arms for drag strip domination. Hand-painted graphics that told the rider's story at a glance. Chrome, carbon fiber, custom lighting. Every Hayabusa was a reflection of its owner's personality and ambition. It wasn't just about showing off either. The bike's overbuilt engine and tough frame invited experimentation. It could handle outrageous horsepower without needing a complete rebuild every season. That reliability gave riders the freedom to modify without fear. And it wasn't only for speed demons. Some built theirs for comfortable touring, with plush seats, luggage setups, and wind protection to cross states in style. This culture of customization built a real community. Hayabusa owners gathered at meets and shows, swapping tips, telling stories, and admiring each other's handiwork. There was, and still is, a sense of kinship among riders who chose this machine. Because the Hayabusa wasn't just a motorcycle you rode, it was one you kept, one you invested in, upgraded, and shared memories with over years, even decades. In the end, that may be its greatest legacy. The Hayabusa didn't just push the limits of speed, it expanded the very idea of what a motorcycle could be. It became more than metal and rubber. It became a platform for freedom, creativity, and the unbreakable bond between rider and machine. A testament to the belief that limits aren't there to be respected, but to be rewritten. The Suzuki Hayabusa wasn't just a superbike that made the industry take notice. It was proof of a time when engineers dared to dream big, break the rules, and make speed itself a symbol of freedom. Even as newer machines came along with more power or tech, none could ever recreate the shockwave of 1999. What do you think about this legend? Have you ever seen a Hayabusa up close, dreamed of riding one, or even owned one yourself? Share your stories and thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you can join us as we explore even more incredible, controversial, and inspiring motorcycle stories from every era.